Thursday, June 11th, 9:28 a.m. This is a different kind of ball. It's getting warm out here already. It's about 82 degrees. A lot of noise around here. Welcome to Huntington. Hard to find someplace quiet. In 1977, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for many reasons. For one, I just turned 21. Exactly a week away, 8 days away from exactly 32 years ago or 33 years ago. 33. Oh, 37 years ago. 37. In March of 77, I met a man. Matter of fact, I met him in Moon Township on Oak Haven Drive at Eric Miller's house. His name was Mike. The name he went by is Mike. Was Mike. His name wasn't Mike. I probably couldn't pronounce his real name. It's an Enochian language, as we call it. The forerunner of Sanskrit is Enochian. The ancient Enochian, not the bullshit modern day crap with black magic and all kinds of stuff associated with it. But, yeah, I met Mike at Eric's house. He was a boarder. He lived there for about $100 a month. Mrs. Miller had MS, and her husband had just abandoned the family a couple years before that, and let them all on their own devices. And the Miller family had to make ends meet, so they rented out rooms to strangers for $100 a month. Room and board. One or two meals a day and shelter. Bargain. Pretty stupid because Kurt Miller and Mrs. Miller, Darla, ended up being murdered in '82 by one of those boarders. True story. It was in all the Pittsburgh papers. It might have been '83. Matter of fact, it was probably 1983. Turn my heart up. Rip my heart up. Anyhow. That was hard. I met a man from a distant land. He stressed a point that I am that I am. He was a firm man with eyes of flame. And the powers he possessed put me to shame. And he said, you can do what I do, Lee. The secret lies in your brain capacity. Well, we drove around in his compact car. And we talked of life. on his distant star, on the planet, not the star itself, the planet around the star. Yeah. Duh. And time seemed to stop, you see, for Mother Shakti was flowing through me. Then he stressed a point that that I must relate, that man should not have to reach the pearly gates. In other words, you shouldn't die. Only mankind on earth dies, usually. And he spoke of past civilizations on Jupiter and on Mars. Are the ditches, were the ditches on the fourth planet Valskars? The Earth may suffer a similar fate. It's in the Bible, but they won't set a date. And they will spin Earth, if need be, to put it back on track. Because that's more important than we are, the planet. The planet. And we will implode. And if so, will we ever be allowed back? Yes, I met a man from a distant land. He may be high with the touch of this hand. Right there. Boom. He told me that his brain capacity was about 66%. And I happened to ask him, what was mine at? Approximately. Would you happen to have a gauge? No. He said, well, yours is about 25%. I said, oh, I'll be darned. Interesting. I'd take that with a grain of salt and tuck it away. That happened March 16th, I believe it's the 16th, of 1977. I just left Arizona State University spring break to make a long trek across country to meet him. I just didn't know that was going to happen, but boy, did that happen. Matter of fact, I never told this for a while. I met him on a Wednesday. The following Friday, I was driving. I was in Ohio, and it was 7:30 at night. I was driving down Interstate 76 at the Wooster Road exit. Wooster Road, yeah, Wooster Road North. Well, the Wooster Road that cuts into the 276. And I looked up, and right in front of me, in plain sight, was a UFO. About 200 feet away and about 200 feet high. So it wasn't very far away and wasn't very high. It was about 25 feet in diameter and just floating like a frisbee floats. You know, that stalled and it had portholes, quotes, portholes around it that pulsated. It was just getting dark. And it was like a marquee sign that has the lights around the outside of the sign and goes, you know, one or two or three lights at a time. The light, but the lights were going like that around the UFO. I thought, huh, that thing's barely spinning. If it's spinning, and nobody else seemed to be able to see it. Just me, huh? I pulled over. I pulled off the highway into the Moosehead Road exit into an abandoned gas station. Shine my headlights at it and that kind of stuff. I hopped out of my car and I stood there and watched it for about 5 minutes, just hovering. It reminded me of a leaf that falls from the top of a tree. We go to and fro, you know, kind of like, ooh, ooh, but it kind of moves a little bit away, like a frisbee would move a little bit. Then after about 5 minutes, I mentally said something to it. I said something like, "If you're here for me, I'm going to Madeline Teagle's house right now. If you're Mike, follow me. Let's go." I hopped in my car, and sure enough, it followed me. I could watch it in my rearview mirror for about 15 minutes, and I could turn around, look. Yeah, I could see it for a while. Then I lost it. I lost it. About 10 minutes away. When I get to Madeline's house, I was the first person there. I jumped out of my car, and then I jumped up on her porch. It's about 3 feet off the ground, and I landed, and right then she came dashing out of the house. And both of us at the same time said, "You wouldn't believe what I just saw." Well, that's what I said. And she goes, "Lee, you wouldn't believe who I was just talking to on the phone." And I go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hold on now. You go first." She told me that she had just got a phone call from Mike. And that he told her that that he was sorry, but to tell Lee that he couldn't be there in person, but that he would make himself known. And I said, "Wow, isn't that special?" Yeah. And then I told her my story about the UFO, and I still couldn't see it anymore. And I realized that was his way of making himself known. Because he had told me 2 nights before that they don't even need UFOs. They have craft that he called beacon ships. Beacon. Beacon. That was a word he gave it. They're basically storage devices and they have information on everybody and everything on Earth. Kind of like what the NSA did. Coincidence? Maybe that's something we're supposed to do. I don't know. But it stores information. Who knows what's in there? I don't. Probably some massive, mega hypercomputer or something. Could be a crystal for all I know, but I think it's something like 1,000 year ahead of us computer system, or more than 1,000 years. But your guess is as good as mine. We never got that far. But he could retrieve information from those ships using our payphones or any phone. And he showed me a piece of cardboard that has 6 lines or 7 lines of information on it. And the first 5 lines, let's say 5 lines, I can't remember exactly anymore, was like Sanskrit. And I went, huh? But then the two last lines were different. The second from the bottom was a phone number. It was a 7-digit phone number, like 264-8391. Oh, that's the Bell's old phone number. Phone number in Hyde Park. Let's call them now. Anyhow, and the bottom line was just 3 letters, which I found really interesting. 3 letters, H-U-M. Hume. I'd already known about but Hume, I was like, huh? And I looked at it for a while, and I said, hey, Mike, we're in his bedroom by this time. He was laying on his bed. I was sitting in a chair facing him on the bed. He goes, I said, can I have this? He took it from my hands. He goes, no. No. Can I memorize it? Can I look at it for a while? He goes, sure. Do what you need to do, but you can't keep it. I said, oh, crap. No evidence that we met. But all the Millers met him. Eric testified that Aunt Greg, Kurt's dead. He can't testify. But Greg met him. Of course, Eric, I can't find Eric anymore. Very smart man. Very powerful man. He told me about JFK and how he died. He told me that JFK was the man. Then you people killed him. He kind of called us all you people. In other words, somebody on the planet killed him. I said, would you mind telling me exactly or more information? He goes, yeah, I'll tell you. He said, Richard Helms. Richard Helms. I went, Helms? I remember that name from the Johnson administration. And then he was, I believe he was in charge of the CIA a couple years before Bush, after Kennedy was shot. Blah, 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 blah. But he talks about that. Then we talked about a lot of things. By this time, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. We'd been talking since 6 o'clock p.m. the night before. And we talked about Jesus. And Mike told me that he's still alive, that he never died. Well, he did die, but his father was one of their people. They allowed one of their people to cross with Mary. And then the Catholic Church made this big thing about it, the mystical thing about the Immaculate Conception. Bullshit. And the deception was on. And Jesus is still alive on their planet, very depressed over how his life was completely, his message was completely misconstrued, yeah. You know what I mean. And he made me a promise. He told me that I would never meet him again. but that someday I would meet a representative of his, and that I would meet Jesus. And he also told me 3 times that night and day, that night and morning, which I found very strange, amongst dozens of other things. He told me, hey Lee, don't forget, don't forget, you can always drink your own urine. That told me right away that, oh, the shit's gonna hit the fan someday. Maybe, possibly. So, 1977, it was a very good year. It was a very good year. I met Mike and Madeline, and I turned 21. And Dave Weimer and I became best friends. And we saw 2 UFOs. Oh, and after Mike and I met, and I saw that UFO, it's like Saturday or Sunday, I finally made it back to Arizona State, in Mesa, Arizona. And then I came back to Akron that May. And my buddy Dave Weimer and Vicki Reinfeld and I were in Dave's car, and he was driving. We were going to Madeline Teagle's house for a Friday night meditation. And we're about a mile from her house.